Solving Newton's Laws problems. We've already kind of seen how we pull together the various parts of the toolboxes, the trigonometry, Newton's Law of Motion, balanced forces and unbalanced forces, how we kind of pull those parts together to create a method for solving Newton's Laws problems. This is kind of a fast summary of how to solve really, truly every single Newton's Law problem that you're likely to run into. It's Unit 4, it's Unit 5. There's a small difference between those two units when we actually get into Unit 5, but this method really works for every single Newton's Law problem that you are likely to encounter. Step number 1, draw the force diagram. Don't skimp on this. Don't not draw it when you're doing the homework online or wherever out of your book or whatever. Don't try to do it in your head or just on your calculator. Always draw the force diagram. Step number 2, if there is a diagonal force, then you need to do these 3 things. Number 1, always draw the triangle. I usually, when I'm drawing the diagram, I've got the force diagram done, I usually draw any triangles off to the side. I don't usually draw them right on the force diagram. It gets kind of crowded and hard to see. And so I like to redraw the triangle kind of off to the side so I can see what I'm doing and solve things that way. Then I write the SOHCAHTOA fractions. Okay, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent opposite over adjacent. Frequently you only need sine and cosine, but it doesn't hurt to go ahead and write down the tangent. It's not that much more to write, and it's not a bad idea. You might actually use it. Then solve what you can of those. All right. Typically, you may have the numbers to actually solve and get down to a numerical value, and that's great if you're able to do so. If you don't have all the numbers to get to numerical values, solve what you can. I usually like to write them without the fraction. I multiply by the denominator of the fraction on both sides of the equation and rewrite it as just one equation without a fraction in it. Step number 3, once you've done as much as you can with the triangle, I like to write the equations next. Okay, there's 2 equations we write. Horizontal, the sum of the forces in the horizontal direction is 0. That's on the x-axis, horizontally. And vertically, the sum of the forces, sum means add them all up, the sum of the forces in the vertical direction, that's like gravity and normal force, also equals 0. Once I have those 2 equations, I look at the force diagram and substitute in forces, symbols, values, whatever I might have from the force diagram, and from the triangle, okay, from the trigonometry, okay, and solve what I can. You solve, you substitute, you solve some more, you substitute again if you need to, you solve again, right? Usually it's writing a couple of equations, plugging in what numbers you can, solving as much as you can, finding where you might take the value you now know and put it in somewhere else. The next few videos after this one, I'm going to work through 3 more examples, and hopefully that will kind of highlight how these 4 steps are put into practice.